Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1. You will hear a man having an interview for a job in a hotel. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning, Mr. Peters. Please come in and have a seat.
Thank you.
My name's Gloria McKell. I'm the personnel manager here. Now, before we start the job interview, I just need to get a couple of details from you.
Sure.
Now, first of all, I'd just like to confirm I have the correct details. Your name is George Peters, isn't it?
Yes.
And your contact phone number is 0438 637 935?
That's right.
The man's phone number is 0438 637 935. So 0438 637 935 has been written next to the example on the question paper. Now continue with questions 1 to 4.
We have vacancies for a couple of positions in our hotel at the moment. Which position are you interested in applying for?
Room service.
Room service, right. Now, I'd like to find out a little about your employment background. Have you worked in a hotel before, or have you been employed in any capacity in the hospitality industry?
I've never actually worked in a hotel, but I've been a waiter in a couple of different places.
Oh, good. I'm sure that experience will come in handy.
Also, at the moment, I'm doing a course.
Oh, what are you doing?
I'm studying tourism management. I'm in the second year of a 3-year course.
That's good to hear. Oh, by the way, we have quite a few international guests staying here. Do you speak any foreign languages?
I did French at high school, and I'm studying Korean as part of my diploma course.
And how well do you speak those languages?
Well, I can have a simple conversation in French, but my Korean's still fairly basic, though I think it'd come in handy with room service.
Good.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Well, I've asked you a number of questions. Now, I wonder if there's anything you'd like to know about the position or about the hotel.
Could you tell me what the duties are of doing room service? I mean, I've got a vague idea, but it'd be good to know exactly what it involves.
Yes, of course. In fact, your duties would not be limited to room service. There are a few extra things that are now part of the job you're applying for. For instance, the porter used to carry guests' bags to their rooms, but his position has been abolished, and that would now be your responsibility. Unlike a waiter, you don't take their orders for food. The kitchen staff does that by phone.
Right.
If you're on afternoon shift, you also have to take the afternoon newspapers to the guests who've ordered them. But if you're on the morning shift, it's done by the concierge. You're qualified to serve alcohol, aren't you?
Yes.
Good, because on evening shifts you may have to serve in the hotel bar. What else? If a guest calls to say there's a problem with some of the equipment in the room, if it's something simple like one of the light bulbs is blown, then you replace it. But if it's something more complex, say if the TV isn't working, you leave that to the technical staff.
I see.
Oh no, sorry, there's been a change in that. In fact, now all electrical work has to be done by the technical staff. It's an occupational health and safety issue.
Better to be safe than sorry, I suppose.
Yes. You don't have to do any of the cleaning, though you do have to remove any dirty plates the guests have used in their rooms. The cleaners are the ones who make sure the fridges have the right amount of drinks and snacks in them. There are a few other duties, but basically room service plays an important role in maintaining guest satisfaction, and so a friendly attitude and efficiency are what's required.
Oh, that goes without saying. And could I ask about the pay and conditions?
Of course. The pay is $20 per hour and $25 per hour between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m, as well as on Sundays.
Right. And what's provided by the hotel? For instance, I suppose there's a uniform to wear?
Yes, the hotel provides the jacket and trousers. However, you'd be responsible for doing your own laundry.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, what about transport? Like, if we finish a shift around midnight, does the hotel pay for taxi fares to get back home?
We used to do that, but now instead we allow staff to park for free on the premises. It can be very hard finding a parking space on the street around this area.
Yeah, I had trouble getting a spot when I came here today.
Yes, it's a busy area. I might just add that we pride ourselves on having a well-trained staff, so it's a good thing that you're doing your diploma.
Yes, it's been a very interesting course so far.
Good. Oh, one other thing, we also pay for medical insurance for all our employees as an extra incentive for working with us.
Oh, that's good.
And until recently, we provided 1 meal per shift as well, but that's been discontinued. Right. Well, I think that's all then. I'll give you a call later in the week and we can talk further.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you very much.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Timothy Curtin is an officer at the Department of Immigration. You will hear him talking to foreign students at a business college regarding visa regulations. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 and 12. Now listen and answer questions 11 and 12.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Timothy Curtin, and I work for the Department of Immigration. I've come along today to give you some information about visa regulations so as to make your stay here a bit easier. I'll be telling you about some of the rules for those on student visas and particularly about how to extend your visa. Now, I'm from the Atwood office of the Department of Immigration. At our office, we mainly process work visas. However, in the office where I used to work, I dealt mainly with student visas, which is why I was chosen to speak to you today. For other matters, such as residency applications or medical visas, you need to go to the Hampstead office of the department. For visas for people who are here on holidays, you can go to any office of the Department of Immigration. As you would know, there are certain conditions for people who hold student visas. For instance, if you move, you have to tell your college. The college then has to inform the department by mail, giving both your old and new address. You can change the college where you study, but you have to let the department know that you've enrolled with a new college. You're also allowed to work, but remember that the maximum you can work is 15 hours per week, because you're here as full-time students, so your main focus has to be on studies. You can also take up to 3 weeks holidays between courses. If your marital status changes, you have to inform the department and provide us with a copy of the marriage certificate within a month of the wedding.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 13 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 13 to 20.
What I'd like to do now is go through the steps you have to follow when you want to extend your student visa, because a lot of students have to do that at some point while they're in this country. The first thing you have to do if you want to extend your visa is to pay for the next course you're planning to take. As you know, all courses have to be paid in advance. The course itself has to be of at least 4 months' duration, and you are advised to submit your visa application at least 2 months before the course is due to commence if possible. You need to keep a copy of the receipt of payment and send us the original. We advise that with all the documents you send us, that you keep photocopies for yourself, just in case any go missing. You'll also have to get a letter from the college you've been attending, which states your attendance record at that college. You already know that one of the requirements of a student visa is that you turn up to a minimum of 75% of your classes. If you've been absent for more than 25% of classes, you'll have to provide medical certificates stating that you were ill and unable to attend classes on those days. You then need to fill in a form to extend your student visa. That's Form 726C. You can obtain one by visiting any branch of our department, or else you can access it on the internet. At the end of my talk, I'll be handing out a brochure that gives our website address, as well as the addresses of department offices throughout the country. On top of that, you'll also need to be able to show that you have the means to support yourself while in this country. It's been estimated that the average student needs $15,000 a year to live on, and for that reason you'll need to prove that you've got at least $6,000 in a bank account. It's got to be a bank account in this country, so $10,000 in a foreign account is of no use. Of course, your passport has to be still valid. And what else? Ah yes, then you'll need 3 passport photos. Make sure they're fairly recent photos. You then take all these documents and the form down to the immigration office, along with your passport. As you can see, there's quite a lot to do, so don't leave it till the last minute. You've got to lodge your application, along with all the documents, at least 3 weeks before the old visa expires. You have to pay for the visa application too, and that money's non-refundable. You can pay by cash, credit card or cheque. Oh, by the way, it'll cost you $325 to apply for an extension of your student visa. Wait, let me check that. Oh, that's right, it's gone up to $435. Then it'll take about a week to process your application. But we also have to make allowances for weekends and public holidays, and at times we have heavy workloads, so it may take as long as 12 working days before you get a reply. You might hear from us before that, but don't contact us before that period of time has passed. There may be a few things we need to ask you about before granting a visa, so there's a chance you'll be invited to an interview just so that we can check up on anything. But we'll let you know if we think that's necessary. Don't worry, if you can't remember all these things I've been talking about, they're all on Form 726C. Well, I think that's about enough from me. Now, do any of you have any questions?
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear two geography students, Jack and Katie, talking about a field trip to Kenya in Africa. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Katie, hi. Thanks for inviting me round.
Oh, thanks for coming. I know you're up to your neck in finals revision, but I've got to make up my mind about next year's geography field trip, and I'd really like your advice. We've got to choose between an African trip and one in Europe. They've told us a bit about both trips in the lecture, but I really can't make up my mind, and I know you did the African one last year.
That's right.
So, where exactly did you go? I mean, I know it was in Kenya, in East Africa.
Yes. Well, we were right up in the northwest of the country. It was beautiful. We stayed in a place called the Marich Pass Field Studies Centre.
Right. Dr. Rowe said the accommodation was traditional African-style cottages. He had a special name for them.
Bandas. Yes, they're fine. You have to share, 2 or 3 people together. They're pretty basic, but you have a mosquito net. They don't provide spray, though, so remember to take plenty with you. You'll need it. And there's no electricity in the field centre. You'll have hurricane lamps instead. They give a good light. It's no problem.
What about places to study? Dr. Rowe said there was a library?
Yes, but it's quite small. There's a lecture room as well, but most of us worked out in the open air. There are plenty of places outside, and it's so beautiful. You're right in the middle of the forest clearing.
I gather it's a relatively unmodernized area.
Definitely. They actually set up the centre there because it's on the boundaries of 2 distinct ecological zones. The mountains, where the people are mainly agriculturalists, and the semi-arid plains lower down, where they're semi-nomadic pastoralists.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
So, how much chance did you get to meet the local people there? Did you get the chance to do interviews?
Yes, though we had to use local interpreters, but that was okay. Then we did field observation, of course, looking at environmental and cultural conditions, and morphological mapping.
What's that?
Oh, looking at the surface forms of the landscape, the slope elements and so on.
What about specific projects?
Yes. After the first 2 or 3 days, we spent most of our time on those. We could pretty well do what we wanted, although they all had to relate to issues concerned with development in some way. People did various things. Some were based on social and cultural topics, like the effect of education on the aspirations of young people, and some did more physical process-based studies, looking at things like soil erosion. My group actually looked at issues relating to water, things like sources such as rivers and wells, and quality and so on. It was a good project to work on, but a bit frustrating. We felt we needed a lot more time, really.
Right. Dr. Rowe did say something about limiting project scope.
Yes, he told us that too at the beginning, and I can see why now. What else? Well, we had some good trips out as part of the course. We went to a market town, a place called Sigur. That was to study distribution. And to look at agricultural production, we went to the Weiwei Valley. That's an important agricultural region.
And what about animals? Did you have a chance to go to a national park?
Sure. We did a trip on the last day, on the way back to the airport at Nairobi. But actually, there was lots of wildlife at the field centre. Vervet monkeys and baboons and lizards.
It does sound good.
It was excellent, I'd say. In terms of logistics, it was very well run. But it was more than that. I mean, it's not the sort of place I'd ever have got to on my own. And it was a real eye-opener. It got me really interested in development issues and the way other people live. I did find it frustrating at the time that we couldn't get as far as we wanted on the project. But actually, I'm going to follow it up in my dissertation. So it's given me some ideas and data for that as well.
So you'd say it was worth the extra money?
Definitely.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a lecturer talking to a group of engineering students about the design of a greenhouse. Before you listen, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon. This is the first of a series of lectures I'll be giving about engineering for sustainable development. I'll be presenting examples of engineering projects from a variety of contexts, and today I'm going to talk about a project to design a new kind of greenhouse for use in the Himalayan mountain regions. First of all, I'll tell you about the problem which was the context for this project. In the Himalayan mountains, fresh vegetables and other crops can only be grown outside for about 90 days during the summer, because the altitude of the region is around 3,500 meters, and because the rainfall is so low. In winter, temperatures fall below minus 25 degrees centigrade, so fresh vegetables have to be imported. They arrive by truck in summer or by air in winter, which makes them expensive. Local people rely on dried leafy vegetables and stored root crops during the winter, and rarely eat fresh vegetables. But despite the sub-zero temperatures, the skies over the region are cloudless, and there are over 300 sunny days per year. So, an engineering solution was needed to exploit the sun's energy and protect locally produced plants from freezing during winter. And in fact, there had been programs in the past to provide greenhouses, but these were unsuccessful. The greenhouses weren't adapted for local conditions, so they tended to fall into disuse. So, a few years ago, a project was initiated to design a better greenhouse, one which would meet the criteria for sustainability. So, what are the criteria for sustainability? Well, first of all, the new greenhouse is designed to be relatively simple, so construction is cheap. Locally available materials are used wherever possible.
The walls are generally constructed of mud bricks, made locally, although in areas of high snowfall, more resilient walls of stone are needed. Rammed earth is also used. The main roof is generally made from locally available poplar wood, with water-resistant local grass for the covering. In addition, the construction and maintenance of the greenhouse is done by local craftsmen, so local stonemasons are employed to build the greenhouse walls, and specialized training is provided for them wherever necessary. Then, the greenhouse is designed to run on solar power alone. There's no supplementary heating. And lastly, families are selected to own one of the new greenhouses with great care. They have to have a site which is suitable for constructing it on. They also have to be keen to make a success of using it, and also to share the produce with the wider community through sale or barter. Potential owners are taken to see existing greenhouses before they make a final decision about having one. So, those are the features which make the project sustainable. And now, I'll briefly describe the design of the greenhouse. The greenhouses are orientated very carefully along an east-west axis, so that there's a long south-facing side. The transparent cover on the south-facing side is made from a heavy-duty polythene, which should last for at least 5 years. On the inside of the greenhouse, the walls are painted. The rear and west-facing walls are black to improve heat absorption, but the east-facing wall is white to reflect the morning sunlight onto the crops inside. Finally, there's a door in the wall at one end, and vents are incorporated into the roof, the door, and the wall at the other end to enable control of humidity and prevent overheating. I'll turn now to the benefits which have resulted from the introduction of these new greenhouses. These benefits are of various kinds, but for now, I'll just mention the social benefits. First of all, people who own a greenhouse gain social standing in their communities because they provide vegetables for the wider community, for regular consumption as well as for festivals, and they also earn income. Secondly, because in rural areas it is women who usually grow the food, the greenhouses have increased their opportunities. They bring the benefits of improved nutrition and increased family income from the sale of surplus produce. And thirdly, as a result of their improved financial position, some families can now afford to educate their children for the first time.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.